Dit is hartstikke awesome Jeff.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Inside Scoop with Alex and Jeff. I am Alex Dingman.
I am Jeff Doss. What's up, guys? Let's do this. I tell you what, we have an action pack, a lot to talk about this weekend. The return of legends. We got all kinds of things to talk about. The rules. We got a big tournament that happened, the Compete Internationals. Big news that happened from there. So many things. And we're also going to have some fun topics that we've been talking about as well. So, and again, we hadn't even thought, you know what? There was also a huge tournament in Bulgaria that a lot of our competitors were at as well.
That's true, yeah.
And so it's really cool. It's just right now, it just seems like everywhere we are, every weekend, there's something going on in sport karate. So it's pretty exciting, you know. So guys, make sure you guys can share the show, tag someone in it that you want to watch with you. Let us know who is here in the comments. All right.
Maybe even some Bulgarians.
Yes. So again, our topic,
send us out to Bulgaria. We're not above that. Come on, bring us there.
Compete Internationals Aftermath. And you know what? Like, I want to start this, of course. Congrats to the Jahan Vosh family. You know,
absolutely great people,
and the whole family, man. All of them are very involved. The Red Dragon group out there, everybody is. You know what? They do a great job each year, and growing. One thing I like that they've been doing over the past couple of months has been having live Zoom meetings on their page with the judges. So that was an awesome thing and great step. Hey, Mark. Hey, Andrew. So lots to talk about in that. And I tell you, one of the things that to me always makes Compete cool to see is legends making their faces known, you know, making their faces seen. You know,
that's a good point.
Cool thing to not know who to expect, but also who you're expecting to see and you're excited to see, right? So let's list some of the names that are out there. You know, we had Matt Emming out there. We got Rudy Raynon. We got Steve Terada. We had Mackenzie Emery. We had Jacob Pinto. So many on the form side that are out there for, you know.
You basically just like
live out there. You know?
Like, depending on the year, like, all the grand champions of like a specific tournament, like
right.
It's just crazy. And all of those are like people's favorites, right?
Correct.
Like Matt Emig, I think overall is probably almost everyone's like favorite, right? And Steve Terada is still ahead of his time. Steve Terada could compete today, and I just love that guy. He's one of my favorites of all time.
Andrew, name some people that you saw that you haven't seen in a while. Yeah, we're going to get, of course, to the fighting side as well. That's going to be a big topic. But yeah, Jack Shelton, Raymond Daniels, Elijah Everill was there.
Justin Ortiz getting in the ring judging. Thank you for that,
Justin Ortiz is making himself known. This is like 3 NASCAR tournaments in a row now that he's been at in judging. So he was at Toronto, he was at AKA, and now he was at Compete. And I know that he'll be at the next one as well because he's going to be at Ocean State. So, dude, he's judging a lot. He's put in his time. He's out there working hard. So it's pretty cool.
Well, it's great to have someone like that because Justin's not that far removed from competing and winning at a really high level. And so as fighters, that's really what we want. We want someone who's got a really good pulse for what it's like. And when people think like, oh, judging fighting at the highest level or judging forms at the highest level, fighting is easier because it's easier to judge because they either hit them or they didn't. But to actually be a very good fighting judge, it is actually harder because you have to be right all of the time. You have to be right all the time. and you have to make that judgment call immediately. You have to position yourself perfectly.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about
the,
that. Andrew.
When the forms are judged perfectly, you get time to watch them all, assess it, gather your thoughts. Now, after all the dust is settled, you still have to be right. You have to be right. You have to be perfect. Right. But you at least give yourself time to gather your thoughts. Okay, now that I've seen it all, you don't have that luxury when you're judging fighting. Like you have to be right immediately in the moment. So
I'm gonna talk a little bit more about that as well. I'm gonna
Regina Thompson too.
So one, Chris Casamassa was there competing in the 60+ creative division. And you know, on his birthday, like he said, for his birthday, he competed. So he looked awesome.
Yeah.
Regina
he even did the scorpion move. Did you notice that? He did the scorpion move.
Oh yeah, of course. So that was cool. I don't know what was yes, there we go. That's what I was just gonna ask. Was Jose Pacheco there? Yeah. So,
I always loved seeing him there. Like when I would go to compete, like just to seeing him around, like he brings a certain amount of like swagger.
Someone else that needs to be highlighted is Chris. He is on here. Chris Tomoso. I always mess up your name, buddy. Sorry. He's been all of that film that you've seen, all the highlighting of all the past legends that he's been put out on the Instagram page. That's all stuff that he's had for years. He puts that out. It's awesome to see. It's been really cool to just show just the throwbacks, and everyone has loved that. So
that's awesome.
Big shout out, Chris. Yeah. So, and Chris, that's another thing, man. This guy was one of the people that really back, especially in the 90s, was one of the innovators of a lot of the nunchuck stuff that people see. So, and he's doing a great job. So keep up the good work, man. I remember competing the 1995 Atomics Grand Slam at the Battle of Atlanta with Chris and the Grands. So that was fun. Yes. Yeah. And Chris, of course, competed too. All right. So that was awesome. Legends making their faces seen. We're going to go, while we talked about some of the highlights and some of the big things of it, we have some other things. We're going to talk about the Return of All-Stars next. But first, we're going to go back to our newest, segment on the show, the top 5, right? So we were picking a top 5, and this one, with all these guys watching, I hope you guys start picking yours. We're going to talk about the top 5 butterfly kicks.
I don't think we're going to agree. I don't think we're going to have the same.
This is going to be a fun one. This is going to be really cool. Let me find mine, because since last week, I've been ready. So I have, and honestly, there's a few that I can kind of go back and forth, but man, I know there's some. So I want to hear you guys put your list right there. List your top 5 butterfly kicks of all time. This is going to be fun.
And I have a feeling that my 5 I think people are going to take issue with, but my eyes see something different, man.
Yeah.
All right.
Do you want to go back and forth with ours, or do you want to just do yours and then I do mine?
I'll do mine and then you can do yours, and I'm going to go 5-1. Right.
Okay.
So at number 5, this is probably not. I don't think anybody would think this would be on there, but I'm going to go Mike Chat. Mike Chat. Hey, that face says it all. Exactly. Like,
I remember him even doing a butterfly kick.
I do remember. That's the thing, is I do remember him doing a butterfly kick, and I remember it. It was when he had remember when he did the wizard, when he did it, and I think with that too, even with that like uniform, that was more of a costume. It was a costume, right?
Yeah, it was a costume from
the WMEC Masters show, right? Yeah. Which, by the way, I never really thought about this until now. How was he able to like take that with him?
I don't know about that, but John Blair did the same thing with the Untouchable. Remember? So
I know. Isn't that kind of crazy? Like,
yeah,
I don't think that's technically yours, right? But anyway, they made it for him, I guess. But anyway, so I think his butterfly kick was so clean and I think it really caught it definitely got me off guard. Like, all right, he's not like he's not a wushu stylist. He's not a Chinese stylist. But that move, when he did it, I just felt like it was that clean. It was that perfect. That was number 5. I got him. Another one at number 4 that I don't think anybody would really think is that like that. And I actually only remember him doing it in competition like 2-3 times. Is Anthony Murata.
Okay. Yeah, I barely remember that one too.
And Anthony Murata is basically like a newer version of Mike Chat. That's kind of what the guy was, right? Anthony Murata really is that, right? So
that's 4 and 5. All
that's
right.
4 and 5. All right, you want me to get on quick? You're like,
Let's
get to the
go,
good
man.
ones.
Dude, listen, we got 30-some people
so
here
much-
live, wanting to talk
Right.
about compete. So
Number 3, I got Lee Pei-yun.
okay.
Lee Pei-yun got height. He got height on his butterfly kick. He was up there, and he was not. He was pretty young, or he wasn't really young too when he was getting up there with height. Number 4 might be the most picture perfect one in Richard Brandon, right?
Yes. All right. Now that one's on my list. Yeah.
Richard Brandon. I mean, yeah, you could say could be number 1.
Rory's a good
no.
one. That one almost got in my list too.
I did, Chris, I thought about Marcel Jones. I really, really did. I kicked that around. And maybe if I dissect it a little bit more, I take Mike Chat off, I put Marcel in there. But number 1 for me with a bullet is Anthony DeMarco. See,
what's funny is that I looked up to rewatch. I never found one video of him doing a butterfly kick.
He did them when he would do them.
I never found one video of him doing it. I don't,
you know what? There might not be. There might not be them.
Sometimes we think this person did it and they didn't do it. Most of the soft styles back in the 90s and early 2000s didn't do butterfly kicks. They did aerials and they did butterfly twists. Like go back.
No. Come on, somebody back me up in this one. Anthony DeMarco did
what I found of his best years.
Okay, my memory remembers this. When he would do them, I think he had a performance where he would do 3 back to back, right? And when he would do them, he would land both feet same time, right?
Yeah.
So he would take off 1 foot at a time, and he would spread eagle, boom, have it, and then bang, would land both feet same time, and then go from there straight up. And I'm like, how is that possible? Right? And he did it like 3 in a row. So that's why for something like that to be so perfect, boom, that's it. And you know what, Jonathan? I actually think in one of them, one of them, the last one actually was a butterfly twist. But I do remember that he did 3. So it might have been 3 butterfly kicks in a row.
His weapons form. Yeah, you're right. It was his weapons form.
Bingo. Yes, it wasn't his weapons form. Thank you, Andrew.
There's just a lot, dude. And honestly, it's funny. So for me, mine are completely different because I think there's so many you left off that were so clean.
There's some that I've already thought about, but let me hear what you got.
So, I don't know if it's number 5. I don't even have him in that. I'm just gonna go.
I put mine in order.
All right, James Solis. James Solis had one of the cleanest ones, dude, that there was. And honestly, even though I don't always like the butterfly kick as a creative forms technique, most of my guys are here are that. So like
that's a really good one.
His is really, really good. There's another one on there that I think is even better, maybe even the best butterfly kick I've ever seen. I'm not going to tell that one right now. The next one is Ho Sung Pak. Ho Sung Pak. I watched all these different guys. I think of the 80s guys, his was the best.
Let's see. That's the thing is he very well could be. I didn't see it. I didn't see it with my eyes. And you probably couldn't go back and find video of it, could you?
Oh, there's like 5 or 6 videos right now. Dude, there's so much videos right now on YouTube. Go watch him. Go watch Philip Wong. There's so much. It was awesome. I went back and watched all of this, dude, and watched everybody. So it was pretty cool. That's why I said I haven't seen Anthony's in a while because the videos I found, there wasn't any of that. It was just this form stuff, right? All right. There's Ho Sung, James Solis, Richard Brandon to me is one of the best, and his, he
Yeah.
did 3 or 4 in a row in a circle. And then you add the swords that he's doing at the same time, just the height, the flexibility he had. So those are 3. And then to me, these 2 are the best to me. John Su, his butterfly kick was one of the most beautiful butterfly kicks I've ever seen.
That's
And he
good.
did it in nunchucks. He did it amazingly in his single and double whip chain. He did it when he would do open forms. His butterfly kick was amazing. And just like anything, he did it clean. To me, and a lot of people, people still, I don't think, give him enough credit, but Vince Scarduzio's butterfly kick was amazing, dude.
Huh.
Go and watch his, I think the best one that you could see, I think it was Quebec Open Creative Forms. Go and look at that up. But I've seen him do it so many times. But his butterfly kick, because of his flexibility, was very crazy. Like his head would be here. Some of these guys are doing butterfly kick and they don't lift their head. His
Right,
head
which makes it kind of okay.
Right.
But when you get the arch of your back
Right.
and you're arching up and you get the chest up high and the feet are up behind your head.
Correct. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. So I would say Vinny Scarduzzo is the best. Honorable mention for me that almost made the list was Guy Burkett. Had a good one as
Guy
well.
Burkett was pretty good.
Yeah.
I think Guy was good like that. You know who I'm surprised you didn't mention? Well, and I didn't mention either, but was Ming Lu.
But again, I never saw her do it. Her thing to me was a 540 split. She was doing aerials. She was doing things like that, And again, I think we all.
I actually don't think she got her arms out.
I think we all think, oh well, every soft style person did this move, and a lot of times
they didn't always.
That's a good one there. Aiden had a great one as well there, Jackson. Yeah. And Rory as well. Honestly, to me, Rory's was good because I liked when Rory would do it and then do the spin with the bow of the staff while he did it. But yeah,
I think the best one on your list that really I have to go, Alex, was James Solis. James Solis is probably the best sleeper out of both of our lists, right?
I'd say Vinny. Vinny to me was the best one I've seen.
No. I mean James Solis, meaning underrated.
Yeah.
Caught this by surprise. I bet you didn't see that one coming.
Right. So I think James, Vince, Ho Sung Pak, Richard Brandon, John Su were mine.
You didn't have Anthony DeMarco on there at all. Wow. That surprises me.
Again, what I'm going to tell you, we have you keep saying this segment is going to go really fast, die out fast. I don't believe so. We have so many ones where I would put him on, I would put, there's so many kicks, there's so many moves that we could do. It's going to be crazy. So, did we decide on next week? What are we doing next week? Did we say a kick? We're going to do a fighting one, right? Are we doing axe kick? Let's do axe kick. No, I know it was ridge hand.
It was ridge hand.
Ridge hand. All right. So next week we're going to do ridge hand.
That's going to be hard. It's going to be hard for me to narrow it down.
Right now, guys, get your list together. Watch some footage. Go back
next week.
Yeah.
Top 5 ridge hands of all time. Oof.
Yes.
I mean, there's some people already that you're spinning through your head that you're like, oh, it's got to this guy. Oh, you got to get this one. Oh, and that one. The ladies, they ain't bad either. And it's what do you do?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. So first thing on the fighting topic, let's go with the return of the All-Stars, man. Alex, you got a lot to talk about this.
So much.
This is, we go out to California. We're expected to see Raymond, even though he doesn't live out there anymore. We know we're going to see Jack, and it was cool to see Elijah out there.
No, I did not expect to see it. That's the thing.
Yeah.
It's maybe 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, you would be like, yeah, they'll be there. There's a pretty good chance that they might compete. Right. You would think it's pretty well, of course, Jack. Okay. But even before Ray announced his retirement, there was a year where Jack and Raymond fought for the overall, and it was one of my favorite fights of the entire year. Right. And I'm like, this is phenomenal. I can't believe this is happening. Right. No, I did not expect that it was going to happen. But if someone would say like, hey, like this happened and you didn't see it, I could be like, yeah, I could probably see that happening. Okay, I could see that, but I didn't expect it. So they were there. Elijah Everill, right, who was before, like, he kind of stopped point fighting. It was like he was the best. He was the best fighter in the world, right?
Yeah. For what?
He was the
2 to 3
best.
years. Yeah. He was the
Yeah.
best. Like,
And
2 to 3
the
years.
next like contender was Bailey, and Bailey was like hunting after him.
Yeah.
Love it. And Elijah still won. All right. Bailey was gunning after his division to try to. And listen, if I had the skills of Bailey Murphy and I felt like I could do it, maybe I'd have done that too. Man, but Elijah still won, and by a spread too. So you got to think like that's what we're coming off of. Last time we saw you fighting in a sport karate tournament, that's what we saw. Right. Yeah. So all three of them team fought together. And here is the sum up that I can, if you didn't see it, this is kind of what happened. They have not been training like consistently leading up to this at a super high level, right? And they still almost could have, should have, would have won. That's what, like, you can kind of look at this and be like, okay, the best of you three right now, performance-wise, is Jack Felton. That's what's happening, right? And like, if you would tell me Raymond didn't train at all, okay, maybe, and he still could have, should have, would have won it all, right? That's if anybody thinks that there's a blemish on his career because he went to compete nationals and took runner up in his division. He took runner up in his division and didn't kick.
Right.
He didn't pick his foot up. Right. And he would get scored on and would just go and would just kind of look around and go, okay, all right, well, I'm scoring in this clash, and would just will himself to do it. It literally looked like he's fighting in the karate school. That's what it looked like.
Yeah.
And he still was like a point away. Right. And you can argue maybe some of them should have been the other way. Like, I'm not taking anything away from Alex Macias because Alex Macias fought Raymond freaking Daniels and won. Right.
Yeah.
You don't take anything away from him. Right. But like, listen, the guy, he's 45.
Yeah.
He's going to be 45. Okay. And hasn't been training for a while. Some people were texting me saying something about his dad-like figure. Right.
Yeah.
Listen, here's what I want to say about that. Those uniforms are not very complimentary. Right. those uniforms are a lot like those Hayabusa fighting uniforms. Remember those ones, Jeff?
Yeah.
Listen, if you're not jacked with like 2% body fat, those uniforms make you look fat. Right. This is just the way those things are cut.
It is,
right.
Yeah.
100%. Right. There was some guys, and this is the knock on the Hayabusa thing too. There was some guys who were like, man, those things look cool. And they like tried one on. They're like, I ain't wearing this thing. Things make me look fat. I'm gonna go get those ASG uniforms. There's no way you can look fat in those. True. Right. Yeah, those things are a box, but I don't look fat. Right. So no, I'm not gonna like no shame over here. Right. The guy fought light heavyweight. Right. He's 45 years old. He fought light heavyweight. He's probably 6'2". Right. He's in the 190s. Like, no, the guy's not fat. Right.
Right. Exactly.
So, like, what are we talking about?
What are we talking about? Yeah. I feel like everybody just continues because they hold him at such a high level. They're like, why did he do that to his career? Why did he do that to his legacy? Listen, I actually think him going up and doing that, it even shows how great he is. You know what I mean? Like that he can do it or whatever, and
because he doesn't need the sport.
No, he doesn't. And I don't think it hurts him. And I also don't think it matters. Like everyone can say, why is he doing it? Because he wants to, because he loves it. Like,
and let's look at that, because he wants to, because it's fun.
Yeah.
And let's look at the way, if you haven't watched it, or if you did, And if you haven't, go back and look at it. Just look at the way he approached it, right?
Right.
He approached it like a pickup game of basketball with some friends that you see at 24-hour fitness,
Correct.
and still almost won, right? Again, not taking anything away from anybody else, but dude, right? That's what it was like. Now, the knock that you can have is that Friday night, all three of those guys were blitzed kind of often, right?
Yeah.
They got blitzed like with the technique, not like they got ran over. No, like they were easy. That happened to them a lot easier. Now, Jack Felton changed that quite a bit come Saturday, right? Is it just amazing? Is it just amazing how Jack Felton still back fist punch blitzes, and he's not covering like an insane amount of ground,
No.
right?
But
he's always there. Like when he throws it, like the back fist isn't like touching the hand and then the punch, like the back fist is landing.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm like, how are you not covering a ton of ground? You're always just out of range of somebody else, yet you're still there. Like mathematically, that doesn't really make a lot of sense, but he's always
not a tall person. And he's
he's like 5'9", right?
Yeah, I would think he's less than that, but okay. Yeah.
Maybe. All right. I always think like he and Greg are like Greg Betlock are like the same height, but
I don't think so, but maybe
they're
I thought
he's been like a light middleweight like pretty much his whole life, so maybe, but
I think he's 5'7", but I don't know.
Maybe. All right, maybe I gave him 2 inches.
Yeah.
So, but like really, he's always right there, right? And I've been on that receiving end of it once, so it is frustrating to feel like I can't ever get to you, and you don't even have to cover ground to get to me, and you're not that tall.
Right.
He doesn't have a crazy long reach either, right?
No.
So, yeah, congrats to him.
So that was cool to see. And you know what? Congrats to Paul Mitchell on their great weekend. I think it was really cool to see those teams going against each other. I mean, also cool to see, like Willie and Jamad out there again. Those guys
look really good.
Yeah, so it was cool to see. You know what? Congrats. Again, another, Enrique's first tournament out there with Paul Mitchell. So definitely a cool one. Also, Jake Mook's first tournament as an adult. So it was cool to see just the lineup that they had. Devin was out there in Bulgaria competing. Him and Bailey and Rashad, lots of different guys out there. So it's really cool to see just the variety of their lineup that they can do. So that's going to be fun to see this year for that. So congrats to those guys. Congrats to Cam on his wins. Also, congrats to Joseph Brackett for getting into the finals. One thing about this tournament was a lot of different faces that were in the night show that we haven't really seen before on the junior side, on the adult side, new grands thing. So list those guys, some people that you enjoyed seeing the finals that you haven't seen before.
Joey, or just competitors in general.
Yeah, Jake fought amazing in the 18+ debut. Again, Dawson Sword, one of the best ever. Definitely. Thanks, Lindsay. We miss seeing you as well.
What's happening, Lindsay?
I was actually in Roanoke, Virginia, about like 5 or 10 minutes from where I used to go and train at John Valera's house. Really kind of funny.
Wow, what are you doing out there?
I was doing seminars. I was teaching seminars in Roanoke. So at a school actually of one of his old classmates. So
cool.
Yeah, they grew up learning at the same time that he did. So pretty cool. Yes, Maddie Kenway, her first adult grand. Great job. There's so many in there. A lot of the juniors were their first time up there winning. So that was really cool. I'm going to talk. Well, let's just go right into it.
Let's hit it.
Um,
Get to the
so
big stuff.
congrats to Sam Diaz on winning the 18 plus traditional grand. So that was a big one for him.
Get it. Real one.
Yep. So Lucas, 13 overall form, first for him to win that overall. Awesome. So many great things on that, right? All right. So lots of good stuff overall. Let's figure out which way we're going. All right, let's just go with will the rules be enforced or not. Let's just do it because we need to pull the Band-Aid off of this one, right? So remember we've talked so many times.
Build right into the next one.
Yeah. So again, nothing off of anyone. I think again, congrats to Sam for winning that 18 plus. As some people know, yes, Kylan, great job. He is a senior competitor, and so.
Well, he's in his 40s too.
Not yet. Close.
Is he not? Did I just age him? I thought he was.
Aged him. Yeah. No, this
bad.
year. Let's see. I'm 41. This year, Joey turns 40, and then Sam, I think, turns at the end or like next year, or maybe he's got another year or two. But yeah. So, all right. Who else turned? Oh, Kevin turns 40 this year as well. Kevin Kowalczyk. So yeah, and Ben Kugia, he won his traditional. He was up there, so that was really cool. All right, so as far as the rule enforcement, we remember the beginning, we talked many times on this about them changing the rules for senior competitors are limited on what they could do, right? You know, you can't do more than one age group unless it's a specialty type division that is only offered in the 18 plus, i.e. 18 plus Korean, then that means you could do 18 plus Korean and then maybe your age division if you want to do 30 or if you want to do 40, but you couldn't do 30 plus and 40 plus, right? You could do 18 plus Japanese, and 30 plus. You could do those divisions, right? Like say if you want to do Kempo, if you want to do Chinese, whatever, weapons wise, if you want to do the 18 plus traditional challenge. So you're limiting some things like people, let's say like Andrew, that maybe he wanted to do the 40 plus traditional forms and the 50 plus. He was not allowed to do that. He could, however, do the 50 plus traditional forms and maybe the 18 plus traditional challenge or the Japanese. Okay. So that part makes it a little confusing. Well, which one can I do? Which one I can't, right? So I understand the confusion on that. But the problem is, and it's blatant in the rule where it says, however, you have to choose one grand championship. You cannot do both grand championships. Okay. So that was pretty clear.
Is not fair.
No. Here's the deal. Is the rule something that makes sense to me? That no, we argue that many times, but yes, the rule is the rule. I meant. And again, I think I explained it at AKA at World Cup that, or after that I went up to Greg Ruth and said, okay, tell me what I can and can't do, because I'm hearing multiple things. And what they had told people was that, no, you can't. They're telling, no, you can't do 18 plus Korean and 30 plus. You have to pick an age group. I said, okay, well, and I said, let me pull up the rules that you guys wrote and let me show you. So I showed him and I proved them wrong and we got it cleared up. He said, okay, here's the biggest problem though, is that we left out 18 plus Japanese. And so that made it look kind of bad because they just put in there Korean, Kempo, Chinese. They forgot to put Japanese. So now we have that figured out, right? Michael Pace. We have that figured out.
Mike, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Okay. I'm glad Mike picked up on what I was saying. All right.
But what he said was, but okay, you can do that, but you have to pick one grand. All right. I understand because that is written in the rules there.
You understand it because it's written in the rules, but it doesn't make it right.
No, it doesn't. But at the same time, it is the rule. So
got it.
Just tell me what we're going to do. It will probably be changed next year because already it was not enforced, right? So again, Sam competed in the senior. He won the senior traditional grand, and then he won the 18 plus Japanese division, and then went into the finals and won the 18 plus traditional. Okay, so congrats to him. That's amazing. I think also Brett Thompson won the 30 plus senior weapons. Won the 18 plus Chinese, competed in the traditional grand. So
and these are the things that we want to have. We want that to be the case,
right? We want that in there. That's not really, but the problem is that why create a rule if you're not going to enforce it, right? Because then all that does is create these situations where you say, well, he shouldn't have done that, or she shouldn't have done that, or, and again, for me now, I'm like, we have Rhode Island coming up. Well, what division should I sign up for? Since now you're telling me that you're not going to enforce it, so it's very interesting on how it is. And again, I'm not trying to pick on any of these guys, but it has to be said, especially since we've talked about, And again, it looks like selective enforcement. It looks like because of who you are or what.
It looks like they're trying to single one or a few people out that they don't want them to win. So
no, it shouldn't be flexible in that there, Jonathan. No.
No,
exactly. And that's the thing. Now that it's been allowed, how can you go back and say in the future you can't, right?
But we know that it's possible that they will. We know that because we know the history of situations like this, we know that that it could be possible that they could go, hey, we made a mistake. We got to go back to this. And now you go, well, that's effed up. Now, once the year is done, how do you look at this and go, it was okay for this guy, but not this guy,
So, all right. So, and Andrew just said at the same tournament, Lonnie Walker was told to pick a 30 plus or 50 plus grands because he couldn't do both. But then that wasn't the case in this situation. So that's not the thing where it's not fair. You know what I mean? What do you mean being selective? Both of them it happened. So, but also with Lonnie, it wasn't. Lonnie was told, Kathy, that he was not allowed to do it, but then two others were. So that is selective. Like it was enforced in one thing, but not in the other. So, and yes, it's the arbitrator. But actually it's also should be the judges. It should be everyone overall. Right. And then that's a whole other thing too. All right. So again, this is why this rule makes no sense, because in this case of someone winning 18 plus in third division, if they choose who goes to the 18 plus grand, that spot's done. It's the same thing though, Lindsay, that technically it's like if I won 4 divisions, I can only do one form. So it's not really, some people will make it like, oh, well, then the second place should move in, or that's not fair to the person that you beat to get that spot. But at the same time, that happens if I won all my divisions, but I'm still only allowed to do one division. I mean, all the second place people don't move up, but yeah, I mean, it should be on the arbitrator, but it also should be on the competitors too. I mean, let's just say this, guys, everyone has to do the right thing, even though it may not be something we all like, right?
Well, and I think that's what we have to look at and go, okay, now that the dust is settled from all of this, what is the right thing?
Right. Well, and here's the deal too. Also, Mark is right here, which we've actually said this many times. So all the stuff we're saying they'll take the entrance fee from us, but they don't want us to get any more back from it, right? So that's kind of the thing on that, right?
It's like a lottery. They want you to play. Right. They don't want you to win. You're not supposed to actually get money back. You're just supposed to put money in. What is it?
Well, because we remember at Diamonds 2 years ago when that was a big thing, right? I mean, I don't know if there was an explanation. I don't think there was a post about it there, Richard. But it hasn't been clarified more and more. And I think that's something that, again, hey, we had some confusion with this rule at AKA. Let's say, hey, let's clarify it more so we can say, hey, this was something that we messed up on, and here it was clarified a little bit more, right? Yeah, originally it was an email, right? Well, yeah, Carolina's saying something that the software was blamed this time. Well, it lets us register for them. So I just think, again, this isn't bashing. It's just the reality. This is something that happened. It's not necessarily fair on either side, right? So how can we fix this? Because now because what can we do on the next tournament? Is it going to be allowed or is it not? And I'm going to tell you at the next tournament, it's even harder to figure out because they throw us in the side room and there's 10 people watching our divisions. Okay. So you could probably get it. You could probably get away with
Get
it.
away with it because there's
Yeah.
nobody there to look at it. So now that the dust is settled,
Right.
both things have happened
Right.
without consulting like the way the rule is written. Let's write the rule, us right now.
Well,
What
go
should,
back to what it
should
shouldn't have
it
been created. It shouldn't have been created. Like we all said, NASCA's losing money from it being created. You're adding more things that make it harder, like for issues like this to happen. You're going to have more issues where there are possibly arbitrations. So again, right, exactly. I agree that needs to happen. A spokesperson from NASCA needs to just address these things and talk about these things, especially when these rules are decided on and new divisions are decided on in June at the Battle of Atlanta. So
yeah, and it's hard to do that because the one thing that I'll give it to NASCA that they try to do is if they feel like, hey, we should change this rule, they just do it right away. Right. And in some ways, that's a good thing. And in some ways, you go, but now that really kind of changes the way you write the story of this season. Right. Because now you have some tournaments where the rules were one way and some tournaments where the rules were another way. But
right, because
I will give them credit.
They wait to the end of the season to post it, and it should be done in the middle of the season so we are aware of what to expect for the next year. And we've all been that for a while, right? So
and
that was one. Go ahead.
I know what their heart is. The heart is we want to get it right. We want the best possible situation for the competitors. And when I say them, I mean guys like Greg Ruth and Larry Carnahan. They truly do in their hearts want to do the right thing. Sometimes our heads get in the way of our hearts, right? And we overthink things we shouldn't. So let's write the rule, Jeff. With the senior competitor wanting to compete in multiple divisions, what should the situation be?
Well, right now the division says 18 plus, 30 plus, so we qualify for all of those pluses. So
yes,
so that's it. And if you are allowed to do those divisions, then you should be allowed to compete in any of those grands that you qualify for.
How many?
So
if I don't know that anybody said this, like verbalized this, but if the thought process to not do that and allow like the 30 plus competitor or the 40 plus competitor to compete in the 18 plus, I don't know if anybody's verbalized this or actually said this or feels this way. But if the reason to not let them do that is because, well, then we won't have an 18 plus representative for like the grant, like it's 18 plus.
Right.
Plus. Yeah. Right? It's basically, it goes back to the old school days of form, right?
Yeah.
This is what it is.
Right.
Form. Like
I told you again, this because again, it's also not fair to the fighters because there's not those specialty divisions except for open weight, right? So again, someone like Kevin
fighters couldn't
do both, like and
he should be able to.
And in that sense, they would definitely be stopped with it easier than they would in forms, because in forms there's a bunch of different possibilities that you can jump into, right? So
they absolutely should. A fighter should be able to do that. Now, I'm not going to go to the extent of like what they do in WACO. In WACO, you can do like, if you're minus 74 kgs, you could do minus 74 kgs. You could do minus 79 kgs, minus 84, and you can go in your weight class and any weight class above. I'm not even saying do all of that, right? Have your weight class representative. I think that's important, okay? But if you're 36,
if you're 36,
why can't you be the 30 plus representative for the middleweight and the 30 plus and the 18 plus representative for middleweight, right? Why not?
Yeah.
It's not fair. Let them.
Yeah. Well, so that's just something that just needs some attention and some clarification. And again, I think that's where, when there are issues like this, some things need to be addressed as like a post or a PR post or something like that, right? So that way things can be done.
Sometimes too many rules make it a lot more. Just make it more. They don't make it fair. They make it more complicated and unfair.
Right. All right. I want to talk about this before we go into the women's fighting thing. The judging culture in NASCA. So we have been talking, a bunch have been talking about the talking between the judges has to stop.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it keeps getting worse and worse. For some reason, especially in forms, mostly in forms, but certain tournaments put a table out and it just has all three judges sitting there at the table next to each other. Now, when you have new people, the excuse is, oh, well, the center needs to explain to them what the rules are, what they should do, this, that should be done before and after. If there is, we need to have one in the center and two on the corners. The battle has done great with separating them that way. Actually, even AKA did that as well in some things. Now, when there was 5 judges, they were sitting there and talking because it was closer. Honestly, to me, the setup for traditional challenges is great because they're separated. You get all views. I think all the divisions should be that way.
I was just going to say the same thing.
So they don't need a table. They don't need to talk to each other. It looks bad no matter what they are talking about. But many times there has been, hey, you didn't see that? Oh, you need to change your score. Oh, wait. No. And I've just, and some of it happens with certain people that I just believe they just, you know what, they're there because they love it. It's their passion. They're there to have fun. And they want to talk martial arts, which I get it. But then separate because it doesn't help. You can talk in between. You can talk this or that. If you want to talk about why you gave this person, that person, do it after, not before the scores are done, right?
It's a stressful thing sometimes, man, because you got to think of me as an individual. Yeah, exactly. You had to giggle for a moment, right?
Yeah.
Because exactly, I have to have a conscious effort to shut my freaking mouth when there's a division going on. Now, when that division's over and I get to stand up, now I might say something like, hey, man, how you doing, man? My back is barking right now. Whatever. I'm going to say whatever. But when the division is going on, like it is, like it's a conscious effort to stay focused on what's going. There needs to be a healthy amount of caffeine that's going on to keep yourself alert and in it, right? That should be what it is. You know what they should do? When they hand out those, sad bag lunches, they should at least put a cup of coffee. Why not? Right? Keep these judges caffeinated.
And there we go. Bracket. Joseph Bragg got arbitrated out of the 30-plus fighting Saturday. So
why?
Well, I guess because he was doing the 18-plus. So I don't know which one he did first or what happened.
That happened to me.
Yeah.
I think in 2016. But that's the one. That's the other. I'm not gonna go into who, but whatever.
But anyway, so again, I just think we got to change the culture. And again, this isn't meaning that, oh, these judges are awful people and they shouldn't do it. No. Yes, definitely refund. But
no, they're allergic to that. That don't happen.
But it's more of, hey, we got to make some changes. They're gonna make this look better, but also it's more fair to the competitors too. And there's still a lot of, like, I'm not going to get into it this week. I'm going to talk more about Korean forms and competition versus Japanese forms, and just some things that I feel it really should go to the judging, and there needs to be a lot of looking into what that is. So, but yeah, I agree. Judges shouldn't be hugging competitors, shouldn't be having dinner.
Whoa. Hugging. You understand, man? Don't people read news?
Right.
Why is anybody hugging anybody at a karate tournament. Don't you read, like, you guys know the golden rule,
Right.
right? You know what's going to get you busted more than anything else. Don't hug anybody in your karate school in a tournament. If yours has anything to do with karate, like, you should fist bump at best. Like, who are you? I'm not gonna say none, but, like, come on now, protect yourself.
All right. So that's just it. So I think we need to really make that has to be a hard stance that NASCA takes. And the truth is that they are not. So we, as the players, the parents, the coaches, need to push it. So again, don't think that you guys don't have a voice. If you keep flooding the emails, calling, talking, make it something that's going to make a change, So, all right. Another thing that was a big talk was women's fighting bow outs or not being allowed to bow out. So there became, let's just call it a fake fight, right? So
agreed upon match.
Right.
That would be I got a lot of stuff on this, both ways,
Yeah.
So let's just say what it was. Okay. Katarina Herman, Katana Everett. They're the best fighters.
Yeah.
They're the two best fighters in the world.
Yep.
Okay. I think a couple years ago, Katarina probably had a better year than Katana. Katana is the best, right? She had the best year last year. And who knows if it continues that way. But it doesn't matter. They're 1 and 2. It doesn't matter which way you dice it.
Right.
One of them is 1 and one of them is 2.
Right.
And they just so happen to be on the same team. Now, some teams will say, we don't care. We fight each other.
Right.
Like Impex and things of this nature, which, Ben,
Yeah.
if you've ever seen like Ross Levine and Avery Plowden fight each other, it is not just a great fight. Like, it's one that you remember forever, right? That 2018 final with the two of them fighting each other. How awesome was that, right?
With Diamond?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? That was amazing. Okay. Paul Mitchell is not exactly one of those, right? So
hey, time out. This isn't the first time they've been against each other. This happens a lot of the tournament. It
does, right?
And they have gone out and fought each other. And it's a different type of fight, mostly because of the two different styles that it has to be. And Katana has found a way to win with that style. So
trust me, man. When I was roughing them
all the time, or they don't ever fight. No, that's not a thing. This just, it became very noticeable and different for this weekend.
I don't know why it became like they did, like it was the decided upon thing to do that, because they fought at the Diamonds and they were fighting like I don't think either one of them went all out. I will tell you, I went all out trying to go all over the place. Oh my gosh, it was exhausting. You ever,
Right.
like, try to be in the best position when you're judging, when there's like there's no breaks, there's nothing to call stop for. Like,
Right.
you're just running around the ring in circles for 2 minutes straight. Anyway, so the tournament tried to step in and say, hey, you got to fight.
You got to fight. Yeah.
You can't bow out. All right.
Right.
Okay, fine. Tournaments have said this in the past. Okay. You're going to make us do something we don't want to do. Fine. We'll go out there, but we don't have to do it the way you say so.
Right.
Right. We can go out and do that. This is not a new thing. This happens. This has happened before. Not just like with this team, but with other teams as well.
Yeah.
And they're like, hey, the most, I guess, egregious is if it's not a final. It's like a runoff, and it's already decided one of these fighters is going to continue without the other one, right? And so then it's kind of a show. All
So
right, Katarina's jumping in. Let's hear
it. Was the tournament all over the place all weekend. So we agreed to bow out. We weren't allowed. We're notified after the night show started. We were frustrated.
Okay, so whoa, it was already decided that
Yeah.
they were gonna do this, and then the tournament comes up to them and says, No, you have to. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's frustrating. Right.
Yeah.
So, but that's exactly what I was talking about, Katerina. Right. The tournament can say, no, you got to do this. Right. We have to have a winner. All right. Okay. But they don't have to do it the way you want to. All right. They can do it however you want. All right. So, or they can have this fight however they want. So, for you to get mad and say, you should have fought differently, like, get the frick out of here. I'm the one out here getting kicked at, getting punched at. I can do it however I damn well please. All right.
Right.
So, Katerina, I love that you're in the chat, by the way. This is
me
fantastic.
too. Me too. So again, it's another one of those things, a situation where it puts both sides in a crappy situation, right? Where it's doesn't look good for them. They, they're in a situation where they feel wronged. Then they go on stage and you know what? Don't put on the show that people want. And then you have commentators that are announcers that are like, well, what do we do? What do we talk about with this? What do we say? So it's a weird, funky thing all around, right? I mean, again, we a lot of times, I don't know what each tournament would have to do. It may, from what I heard, it was in the rules that you had to fight to get the money. I'm not sure that had to affect that.
Fair, but
I do know that a lot of people, we had issues with this in the NBL in the past, and people would say, "Hey, if you want to, if you want to get the money, you have to at least fight in the finals." That was something that we would have to do because there were several competitors that just did not want to be in the night show.
Okay.
They wanted to go home after. So, okay.
Which is understandable at an event like Super Grands that's so long. Okay. So if there's something like that,
yeah,
you can get that. So, but this goes to Katerina's point that it's like, hey, if at the 11th hour you're telling them, no, get back here, you got to do this or you don't get paid, that's kind of BS. Okay. Yeah. So they do it. And then the rumors were that the people who were in power were not happy with their performance that the two of them had. And essentially we're saying, you don't have to get paid, or, hey, you don't have to pay these guys because it was not what I guess they wanted. Like, what did you want? Like, okay, you want Katerina Hermann and Katana Everett to go out there and put on a show for you. Is your show. All right. So they're out there. All right. And they are fighting and they are performing. But to then after the fact say, you didn't do it the way I would have liked to. All right. Yeah, that's where you go.
Yeah. Well,
take a freaking walk. Take a walk. All right. Get out of here. I'll get paid. I'm out here competing. Somebody has to win.
Right.
Okay. Now let's go back in time. All right. So then when we say like this is not the first time. So let's go back in time and talk about how this has happened before. Okay. So this has happened before. Like I said, I experienced this, right, in front of my own eyes many times, right, where there would be a senior, because the rule used to be, right, when it would go down to one male champion, there was no 30 plus, but everybody would fight down to one. All right. There was a light, there was a middle, there was a heavy. All right. And then because there was no welters then. All right. And then it would take your senior competitor. Would fight the 30, the 40, the 50, the 60, they'd all fight down to one guy. All right. Who was always Kevin Thompson, by the way. Right. It was often Kevin Thompson. Okay. And then it was just decided that there would be, because there was like a 30 plus lightweight and there was a 30 plus heavyweight. Yeah. So then there would be like the 40 plus would just fight the middleweight. Right. So whoever the middleweight grand champion was always having to fight the middleweight or the 40 plus winner. Right. Yeah. So Elias Lemon was no slouch. He would win a middleweight grand kind of often. Right. So because Kevin Thompson, who's also a JPM member, right, was pretty damn good. He was pretty much going to win. All right. It was also kind of decided on the team that, like, I've been here so many years before. This is your time to do this. I don't need another finals appearance.
Yeah.
You win. Well, they can't just like bow out. So they had to showcase this fight, which consisted of Kevin Thompson jumping up in the air and faking a back fist like 4 times in a row so that Elias could sidekick him in the side. Right. Very, very gingerly, by the way. Right.
Yeah.
And so that was it. And so if they could have done the same. Katana and Katarina could have done the same thing. Just done that 5 times and go, oh, here's your 10 spread. Right.
Right.
You've been a lot more upset with that now, wouldn't you? Right. But it's like, okay, so then if you're upset with that outcome, right? How do you change that? You can't change that. If 2 people have decided we don't want to do this, right? You can't say we're going to give this out and then now after the fact go, whoa, but we're not going to give it to you if you're going to do that. Like, it's too late. If we go back to when all those super fights happened, they happened because Charlie Lee was giving out a Rolex. And one of the reasons why he said, I wanted to give out a Rolex because you can't split the prize money of a Rolex. It's an actual, it's an item, right?
Yep.
And I want you to fight for this. And he actually said, like, I looked at how much people jumped up and down over, they would go across the country when they had 2 nickels to rub together to try to get the diamond ring. Like, I wanted to have something like that at my tournament. And what has the prestige status of a diamond like a Rolex, right? Okay, perfect. That's perfect. You can't split a Rolex. Only one person gets this thing. Here you go, right? And his tournament had that. People, boom, they showed up. They fought their tails off for that. So if you want to do that, go ahead. I don't know, man, but you can't really change free will.
So that's one side, of course, you know. Again, those that were, here we go. Thank you, Joy. Because yeah, it was tough. Let's hear the other side of it. So that way we have both sides of this. It was tough in house. Most didn't understand and were upset. The rules do say there has to be a fight and the promoter has the option. My understanding is they thought the ladies were going to fight at least 70-80%. That didn't happen.
But it's not up. But
that side. But
sure, there might have been an understanding that they would, but they don't have to.
So I'm getting other texts and stuff too. So you know, I guess saying that some of the things that are being said were not true. So but
listen, the end result comes down to
so again, we're talking about this from our view, and that's why we do this live, and those that are there can say whatever you want in the comments. So if you have something that you want to say, put it in there so that way we could say it. You know what? We don't have to have guests on every week. Let's just be honest, guys. We don't, and sometimes it gets really hard when we do. So you know, and again, we were right after, you know, it's Monday. It's not always easy to get everybody on here. So we're talking about this. We're sharing about this from one side or the other. We're not, again, I feel like overall we've done pretty good on being, you know, unbiased or one way or the other. So, so again,
I get it from the tournament standpoint as it's saying, hey, we're paying a prize money. This is not a donation. The tournament, the tournament isn't over. The bracket isn't over until this fight happens. So I get that part. That makes sense. Okay. If we want to force them into that and saying, hey, but if they say, no, we're just going to split the prize money anyway, I'm like, okay, but you have to have that fight, because just the same way the final 2 can say, we're just going to bow out, we're just going to split it, you know, 2 ways. Well, when does it end? Because couldn't you do that for the runoffs and just go, you know, we're just going to split it 4 ways? Right. So I totally get the tournament saying,
he's saying, well, we have to
have
rules. We have to follow the rules, but so we can't do what we want and still earn prizes. But then it goes back. It goes back to the other end too, where the rules weren't followed. So You know, like
Yeah,
we can't
which lie do
say,
you want me to believe?
yeah,
That's
yeah,
supposed to be. Which lie do you want me to believe? But I get this. So we're speaking. We're just going to have tunnel vision and go this rule this time. I get that. So you want to tell those two like, hey, you got to have this fight, otherwise the bracket isn't over. Okay, they have the fight. It doesn't matter if you don't like it. You got to shut what they call the heck up. Okay, they played your game. They did your thing. Somebody has to win. Okay. If there is no Katarina Herman, if there is no Katana Everett, and let's just say the top 20, 30 women, just saying that as an example, just because that happens to be the division we're talking about. If none of them are there, and you're like, well, somebody's got to win this thing. All right. But there's competitors there and they fight like trash. What are you going to do? Not award them because you don't like the way that they fought? You thought that they weren't skilled enough to win? Like, you can't do that, right? You're penalizing the two most skilled competitors because they didn't do the skills you wanted them to do it the way you wanted them to do it. It doesn't work that way.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, and again, so to many people is that they didn't fight. It was not a fight. And that's the reason why we brought it up in the first place, to talk about it, because it was something that, so I feel like we have brought that out and said that there. We also heard from the other side. The reason why we brought this out was because we actually heard from the other side, the promoter's side, and the judge's side, and the commentator's side, and all the different ones, right? So yeah, again, there's two sides to every story. Everyone has different perspectives. Everyone has different ways. So I think we brought that both out there. And you know what? Again, that's something else that NASCA can discuss and work on. And hopefully it'll work out between everybody, you know?
So if we want something to change, let's look at that and go, okay, we want this to change. What can we do different and how do we do it?
Right.
There's really only one thing to do. Someone's got to beat Katana Everett or Katarina Herman. That's it.
Right.
If you don't like the way this thing went, you got to beat one or both of those two.
Right.
And until you do, they kind of get to fight however they want. When the two of them are fighting each other, they can just listen, if they really wanted to, and I hope they don't, right? If they really wanted to, they could just go, hey, if we fight each other, the next time we fight each other, you're going to win. The next time we fight each other, if we fight each other, you're going to win. They could do that. And you know what? We got to go, all right, I guess, there's nothing we could do about that. So the only way to change that is to beat one or both of those two. And since nobody did last year, probably not going to do it this year either.
So, I mean, yeah, there's a lot of different things to look at on that part. Again, I know most people want a show, right? And again, I understand on the promoter side, you have this show, you have this, you want to put on something special. Again, it's not always going to happen. I've been there. I've had this happen at my tournament, where people had said, oh, well, we don't want to fight. We want to bow out. Okay. Or it wasn't what we wanted, the best that we wanted to see. Right. I don't know. I feel like this isn't the first time this has happened. Like you have even said.
It's not the last.
And so I think, now the arguments and issues between the promoters and the competitors, that's something that, I think that we don't ever want. We don't want that to happen. We don't want that to continue. So hopefully each side can have discussions with each other on how to mend this. So
listen, the reality is that it could happen actually way more often.
Yeah.
It could happen way more often. It could happen in divisions. Let's say this. End of the year. Juniors. Let's say a 14, 15-year-old boys taller fighting division. Okay.
Yep.
The points are already decided. It's already decided. It's going to be, they're already tallied up. It doesn't matter who wins this match. it's going to be this person's going to be the number one, this person's going to be the number two. Nothing about this match can change that, right? And at the end of this match, there isn't another match. There's not like there's a grand championship. There's no prize money. There's nothing, right? We've all got to this. It's the last tournament of the year. They could do that for their division. And you know what you're going to do? Nothing. Because it's one division. Stop making a big stink about it. And the worst thing is to say, like, well, you don't have to pay them a prize money. You really want to do that? The division that's been making the biggest stink about prize money, that now you want to say we're going to withhold it from them just because we don't like what they did? That ain't fair, right? You can't do that. Whoa. What's Joey saying?
He's saying disqualified fighters can be disqualified by referee if they aren't actually fighting, or if it's...
No, that's not true. That is not true, Joey. That is 100% not true, because now that puts you in the mindset of the fighter. You can't do that. You can't say you're not doing what I want you to do.
So Mike Pombero, see, this is the thing as well, that I get this side of it as well. There's always little to no sparring in the finals. Every fighter should want to showcase their thing. I'm not sure what their circumstance was. And again, it's also on the other end that female fighting is something as well. And like what you're saying, it's the one. So it's a rough situation either way. And I don't get either side, you know.
I think that this was just handled poorly is really what it was.
He's saying
because I'm agreeing with Mike 1,000%. Right. So if you were to say, listen, guys, we need you. There's not a lot of fighting here. We want to showcase you. Can you please give us the best fight you got? If not for you, because this is already decided for you, but for all those people who are watching that want to be like you and really want to see you.
Yeah.
Don't you have a whole different approach now? Or to say, listen, I get that you guys didn't want to do this. I get it. It's not a lot. I know it's not a lot. But for me, I'll throw another $100 on whoever wins this thing. Okay. Right. Oh, okay. You're at least trying to level with them. Right. But I agree with Mike. There's so little fighting already. You got to do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But okay. Now wait, I got to go to Joey. So to say like, it is true, it's in the rule, but you can't enforce that. You can't say like they weren't fighting the truest fight, because then that puts you in that person's mindset. Right. Now you have to prove that. And that's something you can't prove.
That's why I still don't believe in the whole that was malicious contact. How do you know if that was malicious?
You can't prove it. You have to prove that.
That's why to me it's got to be a straight blood is blood or knockout's knockout. It was not it wasn't malicious, or hey, it is what it is.
Malicious intent.
Yeah.
Really?
And how do you know what their intent was? Like seriously.
Then all it takes is to go, I didn't intend to do that. Right. Yes, you did. Oh, you got to prove that. Right. But if you just say, listen, it's a knockout, there's nothing I can do.
Yeah.
You knocked them out. I don't think you did it on purpose, but you knocked them out. Okay, well, that's black and white. You know,
yeah. So we're getting a lot of different things.
It's not perfect.
Again, guys, we bring it up. We talk about it. You know what? If something happened in a tournament, it's going to be brought up. Listen, you're talking to someone who had a tournament where myself and my family got on stage and separated people and kicked people off the stage. Okay. And there are people that are still upset at me today because of the way that went down. And the thing is, at the end of the day, on the arbitration call of it, I had nothing to do with it because I let the arbitrator do it. But was that talked about? Yes. Was there as much? It was all over YouTube and stuff. Yes. So we all had these things we deal with. It happens. And you know what? We move on. Like we can't. It's all your fault, Kevin.
But wait, I love Joey. I love that you're chiming in. This is fantastic. Right. Yeah. This is the kind of engagement we want. I love this. I also think you're wrong. So, but when you say like it's the referee's job to enforce engagement. You can't enforce engagement. Right. I remember a fight where Ross Levine won a match 1-0 because he blitzed one time and his fighter was too afraid to even do anything against Ross Levine. What are you gonna do then? You can disqualify both of them, right? You can't. What are you gonna do? Say, go attack this guy. He's got one of the best sidekicks the world's ever seen. I don't want to run at this guy. I'm actually kind of afraid to do that because I just saw him drop somebody 2 months ago. I don't want to do that.
Twice.
You're gonna make me do that? No, you can't. You can't enforce engagement, right? Go attack him. You go attack him, right? How about you see? I've told stories many times about this guy. My friend BJ Carnahan. All right. Sometimes he's a loose freaking cannon and a knockout artist. Go attack that guy.
Yeah.
Sometimes he looks like he's got a screw loose. No, you can't do that. It doesn't matter. You can't just say, what are you gonna then what are you gonna do? Gonna tell them how they need to attack?
Well, all right. So here's the deal. It's different when there's yeah. That's the example is different.
Yeah,
but I still get what you're saying.
I get that too. I don't like the
again,
way that looks, but you can't do anything about it.
Again, there at least is a time limit, so it's going to end up, on this. But I'm going to tell you, we have tournaments where there is no time limit, and it's 1st to 5 or 1st to 7.
That's rough.
And that match may go 10 minutes, and especially when you're dealing with little like 4 and under or 5 and under, they're just running around, and you're just like, okay. Time, it's over. 2-0, we're done. Like sometimes you have to do that, right? But this is still a completely different thing.
Yeah, you don't like the way that they did it because they kind of ran around the ring for 2 minutes. Get over it. It's 2 minutes. You didn't like the way that they did it, but you got to move on. You know what I mean?
I agree with So there's yellow cards and stuff, right? So I think that happens in Olympic style. That would be an interesting thing to do. They actually do this in AAU point fighting as well. If you run too much, or honestly, turning your back in Waco, that's kind of the same thing.
Yeah. If you turn your head, you have to be doing it during a technique.
Yeah.
If you're not facing it, if you just turn your head like this,
yeah,
right? That's a warning. You get one of these. They do the little thing like you're twisting a light bulb. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
So again, we're talking and we're sharing ideas. All right. So I think that's why it's good. I think that's what we need to do. That's why our show exists. And, we've offered both sides as well. So if you have another take on it, put it in the comments and let's go.
Jeff, our show exists because there's a whole bunch of people who are addicts about martial arts.
Yes.
We happen to be 2 of them. And there's a bunch of others. Don't you love yourselves, guys?
Yes. Yes. All right. Anything else before we finish up about the show? About this weekend? Again, I thought it was cool to see so many different people in the finals. Again, another great show. You know what? I think it's cool to hear like Shaheen commentating with Joey. It's a whole different group there. So I think that's awesome. Again, awesome to see the return of All-Stars. Awesome to see Enrique, his first JPM tournament. Again, a lot. We didn't even get into the forums. Congrats to so many great competitors that won. From all over. So shout them out in the comments on who are the top, who is your favorites to watch over the weekend. But man,
wait a minute, hang on. Jonathan, are you saying that our show wouldn't exist as a one-man show? Could you imagine? Could you guys imagine if Jeff wasn't here for a week and it was just me? What kind of traction would we even get?
It would be pretty intense. I think it would be pretty entertaining. Okay. It would be entertaining because you would like argue with yourself and it's really funny.
That's just what I was trying to say.
Yeah.
My brother is like that. You know what my brother would do? He would call me up and he'd be like, you know what? This is like years ago. He would do this. He'd be like, you know what? I actually think Adrian Peterson is the greatest running back of all time. And he'd make an argument for it. And I'd go, you know what? I think there's something to that. And then he would argue with me. And I'm like, wait a minute. I just agreed with you. He was like, no, but you don't understand. And I'm like, time out. What the heck just happened here? I think that might be what would happen if it was just me. I don't know if you guys want to see that.
I don't know if you were. I sent a video I found on Instagram of a drunk guy that was at a bar, and
This
he
can
was
hear me.
he was staring. He was staring
You
at the
did say
mirror
that.
of himself, and he was getting into an argument with himself,
You
and
did.
almost broke the mirror because he started like fighting himself, and that would be what that would be like.
You know, we should go back to, you know what we should go back to, Jeff?
Oh,
The
I did
segments
not
that we
know
used to
that.
do.
That's cool. That's cool. I did not know that was a thing. That's awesome. Congrats to those
Junior's
guys.
got money. All
Yeah.
right. See, I
Good
always
job,
think that
Steve.
they should. Like, if they're going to get a grand championship, you know, throw them a C note or two. You know what I mean? Should we go back to videos to start your pod? Remember when we would do that?
Videos just. Oh, yeah. That was a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was fun.
That was fun for a cup of coffee.
We'll just have to have Travis on to do that. So
That's true.
all the time.
Mom's coming in at the very end of the show.
Very end. This
You
is
missed
crazy.
the whole show.
All right, so this has been a great one. Again, next week we're going to talk more. And I'm not sure. Maybe we'll have a guest on next week as well. So
Yeah, we got another technique. Next week we're doing ridge hands.
Ridge hand. So get
Oh,
ready.
yeah.
Start getting your list together, guys.
This
Who
is
your
a
top
big one.
5
There's a
ridge-
lot of great ones, but
one.
who's the top 5? I'd love to hear some of the insiders. What are your top 5s? Because that would be cool. Because there's some of you guys are super smart. So I'd love to hear what some of your guys' stuff there.
So he said Politi, Ortiz, and Kramer. Leandro thought the best judges were this weekend. So
They were judges.
All right. And next week also, we want to talk some more about like Waco and Bulgaria and Athens, all the stuff that's been going on over there too.
Yep.
All right.
This has been another episode of Inside Scoop with Alex and Jeff. I'm Alex Dingman.
I'm Jeff Doss. See you guys next week. Have a blessed one, guys.